Cara with Ozark Overland Adventures, and you probably remember the podcast that I did, Wonder, Wonder, Repeat. And so we are kind of bringing that back time too with me and Avis. I met her during the Rebel Rally, and so she and I are going to be co-host here on Stories from the Dirt. It is her brainchild.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Stories from the Dirt.
Heck
Today,
yeah.
Kara and I are going to interview each other, kind of let everybody get to know us a little better through
Yeah, I have some
the process
questions
of
for
the
you.
interview. You have some questions for me? Great. I have some
Oh, yeah.
answers for you.
That's good. That's usually how these things work out the best.
Yeah, yeah. I have questions too, but
Yeah,
yeah.
I can't wait.
So, how are you today?
Doing good. It's a little dreary here. There was a lot of tornadoes in our area last night.
Oh, wow. That's right, because
Yeah.
you're in Arkansas.
Yeah.
Tornado Central, right?
Well,
Mm.
not too bad. Normally it's Oklahoma. It was Northwest Arkansas. Conway is actually where I live, and so it kind of goes around. Conway never
Oh,
really gets
nice.
hit. It's something you don't talk about because you don't want it to happen. But yeah,
Right.
so
All right. So, I'm gonna start with my first question to you.
okay.
When did you start off-roading?
I got a two-door Jeep in 2013, and it was a sport. It didn't have any overlanding, off-roading. I thought a Jeep was cute because you could take the top off.
Right.
You could take the doors, you can do all the fun things, and you look really cool.
Yeah.
And as a mom, you try to grasp for some coolness left.
This is true. This
Um,
is true.
yeah, so I got that, and I went to lunch on a work shift, and someone had left a card on my vehicle of like the Jeep Club that is local. I didn't realize when I bought a Jeep that it was kind
That
of
you were in the
induction
club?
of like a club slash cult.
Yeah.
So I didn't realize that that was a thing. Didn't have a clue because I never had one before. I just thought it was cool. So yeah, I guess that was probably whenever I started, because then I went to that meeting,
Yeah.
the group meeting, and I learned, and I was just like, okay, y'all. And then I found out they go out in the woods in these vehicles that I'd only seen on pavement, and
Yeah.
so I was just like, okay. And so next thing you know, like I'm chopping fenders and like doing all of these things to my
Nice.
vehicle, which looking back now, it's kind of absurd actually. It's like, I mean, it's not absurd. It's great. I love doing it because it's definitely everything has a purpose. But wow, I've come a long ways.
Yeah. That's so funny because, now I grew up off-roading, so, like, when did I start off-roading is a
Mm,
gray area of I never remember a time when I wasn't, as far as with my dad and my family and things like that, but the whole, like, I have 3 children, and I always
okay.
drove the mom car, and in 2012, I was like, "Rob, like, we are car people, and the car that we drive really identifies us," and I've
Yeah.
been driving the mom mobile for so long. I was like, "I
What were
just
you driving?
really." Oh, you name it, I drove it.
Okay.
Expeditions, QX80, Honda, Pilot,
Did you ever have a van? Were you a
no,
van
no,
mom?
no, 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 no. I fought the minivan, but, so I was having this identity crisis in 2012, and, like, I'd always wanted my own Jeep, and we'd had a Jeep together earlier, but, I'd always wanted my own, and so Rob was like, "Alright, fine." So, he bought me in 2012 a JK Sport.
Oh, so we were around the same time.
Yeah, yeah. That's
What
so
color did
funny,
you
like,
get?
uh, I ended up with a red one.
I
My
had a
favorite
silver.
color is white, but I ended up
Okay.
with red.
I got silver. It was, I mean, at the my then husband at the time, it was the only one on the lot, and he knew that I wanted a Jeep, and so he kind of surprised me with it, and so
Yeah.
it was exciting.
No, Rob took me to buy it, and he was like, "This is a bad idea. The safety record is not what it could be. I'm never gonna like this thing. Like, I'm doing
Not
it just for."
comfortable.
No, he was like, "I'm doing it just for you because I really love you and this is what you want," and I was so happy, and then the more we had it and the more we took small trips in it, and he was just like it wasn't a few months later, he bought his own.
Oh, really? So then you
Yeah.
became two.
Yeah, yeah, he had
Did
a
he get
gecko
a four
green
door?
one.
Did he get
They
a
were
four
all
door?
4 doors. Yeah, they were all
Okay.
4 doors. Yeah, because
So
we
mine
we
was
did
just a
have
two
kids.
door.
We had the 3 kids still, obviously, they were little, but big enough to not need car seats anymore and stuff
Right.
like that, so they were big enough to enjoy it finally.
Yeah, I had the two door, and I did, I think, have to put the car seat in the back,
Mm,
just for maybe like a year. Like it wasn't.
yeah,
Eh, actually, no, I didn't even have to do that. She was old enough. She was 5.
yeah.
So, but yeah, I loved it. It's just a whole different culture. I've never owned. I know you've owned multiple vehicles, so you went from having the Jeep to Toyotas.
Um, no,
Would you say? You say you still
we
identify as a Jeep person, or are you more of a Toyota?
so we had the 2 Jeeps for a while, and then that was it was starting to get pretty expensive if we would both off-road and break stuff, and,
Mhm.
then we decided that instead of just wheeling, we liked the more overlanding situation,
Okay.
and so we moved to a Toyota Land Cruiser,
Okay.
and that was our first overland build, and then we went to a GX460.
Okay.
And that's when we really started doing, like, longer trips, like,
Those are more
longer
comfortable to ride in
overlanding
for
trips.
logging for sure.
Yeah, and it was newer and a little bit more reliable, and then, we moved from that into our four-wheel camper that we have now. But we've always had, like, some sort of, um I would say almost nothing we've ever owned, we've left stock.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty funny that we, both broke out of our mom car era and into a Jeep.
Oh yeah. I so you mentioned that it became expensive because you're both building the Jeeps. So did you
Yeah.
trade off on builds? How did because that's something that me and Matt do. Like, well, I say that, but I'll be like, we haven't put anything on my Jeep in a long time. Like, did you
Yeah.
have that whole balance?
No, we pretty much if we did something to one, we did it to the other. And so we were building them at the same time together, and then it was also around that time, like, I like to say I'm not a driver. I really started identifying with that more.
Hmm.
Um, like, I could do things, but it wasn't as enjoyable for me. Like, I
Really?
really enjoy passengering, like, spotting and being in that second seat and,
Yeah.
um so, yeah, and that's when we moved over to one vehicle, it was really a better situation for us.
That's
My first
interesting. I love spotting, but at the same time, I like doing it.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to spot. My JK was a manual, and I had only ever wheeled, automatics with my dad,
Hmm.
and so I just had this misunderstanding about for low and that I
Hmm.
thought that you had to stay in a really low gear, specifically first. So
Mm.
so there was this one day we were wheeling and I was in 4 low and I didn't come out of first gear all day. Oh my gosh,
Oh
it
my
was such a
gosh.
horrible ride.
I bet you hated that whole day.
Yeah, but you live and you learn, and then I asked somebody and they were like, "You
No, you
you
don't
can
do
come
that.
out of first." So I was like, "Oh, okay." And they're like, "In fact, you might just skip first and start in second." And I was like, "Oh, wow. Okay."
I hate
So,
first. I hate first unless you're like really needing to crawl because it's just like so like
yeah.
drudging on. But it's
Yeah, it
funny
was
that y'all went to one vehicle. So we actually so that's around the time shortly thereafter me and Matt got we started dating. Whenever and so he had a Jeep. That's how we met. He had a Jeep and then I had the Jeep. He was actually in that same club that I was in. And so I was like, I don't we started dating and then we were just like, we don't want to have these 2 vehicles we're taking off road, so I'm gonna get a different vehicle because we were basically using Matt's because he was more of the driver and that was his
yeah,
passion. And so I got a Jeep Grand, the not the Grand Cherokee. I actually got a Jeep. It's what was the
the
Renegade?
Liberty? Oh, the
No, it was a
Renegade.
Renegade. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I know, right? Like
Yeah.
that. I'm pretty sure I had in search of miles per gallon license plate. I can't remember because one of the Jeep that I had before that was ISO mud, like in search of mud. And now I
Yeah.
hate mud, but I got the Renegade for the gas mileage. But then I got really tired because I couldn't off road and I couldn't drive. And so I from that went and got another Jeep. I've had a lot of Jeeps, and so I got a 4 door. That was a 4 door Sahara, and
Okay.
then sold that one because I wanted to get a Bronco,
Okay.
and I got got one on order, never did get it, so I got a Jeep Grand Cherokee, the
Mhm.
Trailhawk. So I was like, "It's the Trailhawk." Still
Yeah.
pretty capable. Like, I did Hell's Gate and Hell's Revenge, and I've done, like, some pretty technical stuff in that Grand Cherokee,
Yeah.
and then I got the Jeep that I have now. So
Boo. Who
mhm,
I
yeah.
currently possess.
Yeah, who's in your garage?
You know, possession is 9/10 of the law, so I basically own Boo now.
Well, it's got some bolts that are loose, it needs to be washed, and I think the tags are expired. So can you
Yeah,
take
yeah.
care of that?
This is all true, this is all true. Okay, so that's my, partial ownership is those things are on the
Yeah.
list. Got it, got it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so that's how you got into both four-wheeling and how you met Matt. That's pretty
Mhm.
exciting.
Yeah, and now we do off-roading and all of the things. Like, we have motorcycles, one wheels. Matt has a death scooter.
A death
We
scooter?
do yeah, it girl, you think the one wheel is dangerous? So, he has this scooter, and it's like one of those little scooters, like you see, like, a little kid pushing on a scooter, except for this
Yeah,
one is motorized.
okay.
That sucker can I think he got it up to 45 miles per hour the other day.
Oh, tell me he was wearing a helmet. I'm sure he was not,
He
but
was
just tell
wearing
me
a
he was.
helmet.
Okay,
Yeah, he
good,
was totally wearing a helmet.
good.
Um, that was a bad conversation for him about his helmet wearing.
Oh, good,
Um,
good.
yeah, we won't discuss that. But
Yeah.
I'm the smarter one of our marriage. But
I've
yeah,
seen you on
that
video riding your one wheel without a helmet, so I would
well,
like to dispute
that's
that
at
statement.
like snail pace. Like, I can step off. I'm not
Okay.
doing 45 miles per
Well,
hour
this is
on
true.
highways. It's terrifying. So we will all the things, and yeah, that's how I met Matt.
Yeah, and
The rest is history.
you guys are full-time YouTubers, correct?
Yeah, yep. As you can see, we do Ozark Overland Adventures. We have that full time. We started that I think around 2000 and something, maybe five.
That's helpful.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Sometime then, Matt had this dream of going full time. We when we got married, we both knew that we wanted to hit the road full time. Our youngest are the same age, and
Mhm.
so we wanted to hit the road full time and travel when they graduated. And COVID happened, and honestly, I think that was really good for us because a lot of people were getting outdoors more, and so people were looking up outdoor things, and it allowed Matt also to create more content,
Mhm.
and so he was able to leave his full time IT job for that. And then I just continued to work and actually picked up more jobs because I was like, it's YouTube. Who does that?
Yeah.
And
Fair, fair.
so it started kind of catching on, and I slowly started letting go of these safety chains. So now we both do that full time.
Nice. That's exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, so what have you always do? I know Rob, like, have you always been a stay-at-home mom? Like, what's your background there?
Yeah, so prior to kids, I worked. I was an optician, and I was going to
Okay.
computer school to be a programmer, and then, we started having kids, and I did not finish going to college, and then the kids started coming along, and when I was pregnant with my first, we went and we looked at a daycare facility, and I was just like,
It's expensive.
yeah, it was well, not only that, but they were like, "There's this room full of cribs," and they're like, "Oh, but you can customize your baby's crib with their own mobile," and I should not have gone so hormonal, I just lost it, and I was like, "No."
We're not
Um,
doing that.
and I, basically looked at Rob and I was like, "I can't do this, you're gonna have to figure out how to make it work for us," and of course he did, he always does. So yeah, ever since that fateful visit to the,
Yeah.
little preschool thing, yeah, I've always, stayed at home with the kids and homeschooled a couple of them, and,
Oh, wow.
yeah, so I don't it was a lot of fun, and as they got older, I started doing odd jobs, like, I have my, personal trainer certification, and I did that with
Okay.
women for a while pre-COVID, and then COVID kind of crushed that a little bit, and then,
Okay.
we moved from Virginia to Utah, and the kids really are now out of the house, but yeah, so I was the classic stay-at-home mom, really.
Yeah, I did pharmacy work. That's what I did. I worked from home. I worked for a PBM company, and then I also worked in retail pharmacy. But
Hmm.
it's fun. It's fun getting to stay home and especially with what we do. Getting to travel. I know y'all travel a lot too. Does your kids like to travel and do the whole outdoors thing?
So 2 of our kids kind of travel. They, like, currently enjoy hiking and camping and stuff like
Hmm.
that, and when we were first starting to overland, the 2 youngest were enthusiastic about it and wanted to
Hmm.
go with us. The older one, not so much. She's come on a few trips, but, when she was younger and we would travel and she didn't wanna go, she would stay with a grandparent, so we
Gotcha.
let them kind of choose, but
Yeah,
they've all kind of come into it.
my daughter does not. She went on a trip whenever I first got the Jeep, and like it was like going out in the mud and doing the whole mudding thing. And she, after that trip, I was like, "Did you have fun?" She goes, "Mom, mud's not my color." I was like, "Okay."
That's not my color. That's hilarious.
So that's pretty much how to define my child. She never loved bugs. She didn't do any of that. She's into the arts and she's gifted in her own ways, and so we've
Yeah.
navigated that and learned things about everybody's not the same, so it's fine.
Yeah, yeah. We didn't force it on our kids, we offered them the opportunity, and if they
Yeah.
didn't want to, we, made other
Yeah.
arrangements for them.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
So
So I have questions about a little bit about the places that you've traveled. I know from previous discussions and even some of the things that we've said in our podcast that'll be shown. You've been to Germany and all of these places. So have
Mhm.
you always traveled? Like, is that what? Tell me your story there, and where do you like traveling to?
No, so I lived in the same hometown and went to the same I went to school with some of the same people from kindergarten through, 10th grade. And then my 11th grade year, my dad was sent to Germany for his work. And so
Okay.
I was very nervous. I remember getting out of the shower and coming to see my dad, hair dripping the morning we're supposed to be getting on the plane, and just crying because
Oh,
I had, like, we never really traveled. We would vacation at the same beach that was just 6 hours away, and, like, travel wasn't a thing for me.
very common
And
upgrading, I guess.
yeah, and then so, here we are making this grand move
That's
overseas, a new school system, new country. So I went into it very nervous, but once we got there, it really, like, woke me up to travel because, um, being, a junior in high school, I just had a certain amount of freedom, and the friends that I met there, like, we would just travel to different countries without our parents on a whim. And
Mhm.
so that really sort of sparked me, and I've always been sort of, like, not a big planner, sort of like, we could be sitting around and you'd be like, "Hey, you wanna leave, go for a week into the woods?" "Mm, okay, sure, let's go," like, very
Yeah, yeah.
spontaneous. And so I came back, I was in Germany for a year, well, based out of Germany, I traveled all around, and then
Mhm.
came back, and then that's basically shortly after that is when Rob and I met.
Okay.
Um I needed a date to prom, and a mutual friend of ours set us up basically, and we've been together ever since. And he is just as spontaneous as I am. In fact, we often have a hard time deciding whose idea was it and who agreed to do it because it could be either one of us. Um,
Awesome.
yeah, and so he and I, like, his family also going to the same beach 6 hours away for all of vacations.
And now did you
And,
grow up on the East Coast?
yeah, we're both from
Okay.
Virginia, like,
Okay,
Central
okay.
Virginia. Um, and then, just one day we decided, like, we're tired of saying we're going on vacation and everybody knows where we're going, and so then we just started doing more things. Like, we had this stint of time where we would just go to Disney every year, a couple times a
Mhm.
year. We would come to Vegas, once or twice a year. And then when we started wheeling together and then overlanding, that's when it just sort of blew up, and ever since then, like, we're unstoppable. There's no place is off limits.
Oh, I love
So,
it. I love
yeah.
where's one of the favorite places that you've traveled?
I think Alaska for sure. That was so we did what I like to call our first urban overlanding trip where we took
Mhm.
2 of the kids and our Nissan Armada, and we did this big circle around the US and then back to Virginia, but, we never did any camping. We stayed in hotels,
Okay.
because that was kind of our first venture as a family of 4, and, like, we didn't really have a rooftop
You're
tent or
testing
anything
the
like that
waters.
yet. Yeah, and then so Alaska was our first, like, we had more capability, and it was a much longer trip, and the 2 youngest kids came with us, and that was just, like, even though it is the US, it's a very
Mhm.
different scenery, especially coming from the East Coast than we'd
Oh,
really
yeah.
ever experienced, and then when we were crossing the Brooks Range, we hit the caribou migration, and so, like, we would go through these herds of caribou, and it was a great trip. That's
That's
definitely my
incredible.
favorite. Yeah,
Oh,
and
man,
Rob's
I
brother
bet.
came with us, and that also, like, opened up his world into, like, being a full-time traveler, and it was just a lot of fun.
I think people need to experience more full-time travel. I think we are so closed-minded, so sheltered because, some people don't even know beyond their street. Like, that's where they live, and I just cannot imagine because it's like you learn from other people and you learn that, humanity. You see the humanity in people, like the honor and the integrity and just their whole upbringing, and it may be different from yours, but I think it's just so beautiful at the end of the day, and I
Yeah.
can't imagine coming from Virginia and then traveling, like you said, the huge circle that you did. Y'all probably not only did you see Alaska, but coming from Virginia, you probably saw, like, so much even more.
Yeah, yeah. I remember, I never really felt like we sheltered our kids, but we were on
Mhm,
our first the urban overlanding trip that we like to call it,
mhm, mhm.
and we're out in, like, Wyoming somewhere, and we're driving, and one of the kids in the back seat yells, "Oh my gosh, there's a wild animal up there," and I look, and
What
it
was
was a
that, a cow?
cow. I was like, "That's a cow, dude, it's a cow." I was like, "Oh my
It's actually
gosh."
domestic.
Yeah. And so it was in that moment that I was like, I mean, they're not totally sheltered, but clearly
Right, yeah, yeah.
some more experience is necessary. Um,
That's
yeah, so
awesome.
that was really fun too, like getting their reactions and having them with us, those early
Mhm,
trips. Yeah, that was definitely a gift, and when we went to Alaska, they were definitely old enough to choose not to go, and our oldest,
mhm,
again, chose not to go, and we honored that for her, but, we
mhm.
tried to encourage them all, and so the youngest 2 came with us, and we tried explaining to them at the time, like, "This is a trip of a lifetime because,
It
like,
is.
the older you get and the more that entrenched you get into working, like, the harder it is to get these opportunities."
Mhm, and expenses, like, I mean, obviously you provided that as a parent, but, like, that's not cheap, and so
No.
getting that opportunity to be able to do that while they didn't have to pay for it too, jump on it.
Yeah, yeah. Rob knows the exact total, but I think we did something like 17,000 miles or something.
That's
Um,
incredible.
yeah, because we drove from Virginia all the way across up through Sweetgrass, through Canada, up into Alaska.
Mhm,
We came back down into Washington, shot over to Salt Lake City. That's when the
mhm.
kids flew home. They were like, "Please send us home. We're so done with this." And then
Really?
Rob and I yeah, Rob and I continued down to Flagstaff because, the vehicle was supposed to be in a booth at Expo. Um, yeah, it was crazy. It was a
That's
lot of miles
incredible.
and a lot of fuel. Yeah.
That sounds so fun. We wanna do Alaska, but that was something that we decided that we were gonna wait until after, like, when we're full time to be able because you just wanna be able to enjoy it, and a lot of times, like, even though, like, your kids are in school, right? And so you have this set amount of time, and it's a shift between, "I have so much to fit in this week or 2 weeks," or however much vacation time you get, whereas whenever you're
Mhm.
traveling full time, it's like time is not a factor anymore, and that just changes your perspective and what you can fit in.
Yeah. Yeah, we were blessed in that, Rob was in a position to have several weeks off, and, same with his brother. His brother went with us and drove one of our vehicles, and they both had a lot of vacation available to them, so there was no real time pressure.
Right. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Okay, so tell me about the Rebel Rally. Tell me about what got you started because that's how you and I met. We first met at Nina's
Mhm.
training in Barlow Adventures. They did a Glamis, and so that's the first time we actually met. Even though we've kind of
Yeah.
been in this space apart from each other, it's been weird.
Well, we're on different coasts. I mean, you're not quite the
Mhm.
East Coast all the way, but you're also not West.
No,
Um,
but I mean, we've seen each like we know that you've attended an expo when I've attended it, but it's never been like
mhm.
we our paths hadn't crossed.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so when I was living in Virginia, Rochelle Croft, who has done the Rebel before, made a social media post about the Rebel, and I was like, "What is this thing?" And, so
She's so sweet.
yeah, that's how I learned about it initially in her, like, Start Somewhere campaign, and,
Mhm.
so, yeah, I tried for a number of years, 2 or 3 years, to find a teammate from the East Coast. The Rebel really has just now, like, spread quickly to the East Coast.
Yeah.
When I was looking at it 6 years ago, like, it wasn't, the Rebel was still fairly young, and a lot of people didn't know about it, and living on the East Coast, I tried to find teammates, and I would get, "It's too expensive, it's too far, I don't like to be in the car that long,
Right.
I don't like off-roading." So and at the time, it was important to me to have somebody close by for training and teamship and stuff like that. So I could have gotten a teammate, like, on the West, but I wasn't interested.
It
So,
would be
yeah,
hard to
that was
train with being that far away from each other too, or at
yeah.
least I would think.
Yeah, that was definitely my perception at the time. So, that's how I learned about it, and then fast forward, we moved to Utah, Southern Utah, and when we moved here, I was like, "If I can't find a teammate here, like, I'm not supposed to do it." And so once again, like, as soon as we settled in, I started campaigning to try to find a teammate, and so it was after the, 2021 Rebel
Mhm.
Rally, um, and as soon as, like, the Rebel was running, I started talking to people and trying to find a teammate, and Tara here in Southern Utah, the, manager of Dixie 4-Wheel Drive, I walked into her office and I was like, "Hey, have you heard about the Rebel?" And she was like, "I have." And I was like, "Do you wanna do it with me?" And she says, "Sure." I was like, "Okay, wait a minute, it's not that easy. Let me ask you again, make sure
Do
you
you really know what
understand."
it's about?
Yeah, and so, yeah, that was how I got started in the Rebel.
That's awesome. Danielle
Yeah.
kinda asked me that too, and I was like, "I don't know." I didn't even know what it was. I was like, "Sure." Like,
Yeah.
I was like, "Okay." And then,
No,
like, that
Tara
was
actually knew
that.
what it was,
I
unlike
had
you.
no
You were
clue.
just like, "Yeah, I'm down for adventure, let's go."
Exactly.
Yeah. How
Exactly, and
did
then once you start
Danielle learn
training,
about
it
it?
was just like she was reading
Oh,
it
yeah.
in I can't remember if it was I think it was Overland Journal or Expedition Portal. I'm wanting to say it's an Overland Journal.
Okay.
Just an article they had written up in there, and at the time, she didn't know, like, a whole lot of women in the outdoors, um,
Mhm.
in off-roading, and so she met me, and she had met my husband, on a camping trip that they had had before with their spouses, and then she's just like, we went and wheeled together at an off-road park one day, and we went to pizza that night after, and casually was just like, I want to do that with you, and I think you'd be fun. And I was like, okay, that sounds cool.
Yeah.
I'm game. And
Yeah.
then like we stopped talking about it for probably a year, and I saw her again and I was like, okay, let's get serious about this. And then that next year is when we really started like taking trips together, and then following that is when we started like training. So
Mhm.
I feel like it's been an ongoing thing now for a few years, but we didn't just do it until this past year. So, but
Yeah.
I would never. If she would have asked me again, and I know what it was, I would do it. Obviously, I loved it, but I think I would have sat there and thought about it for a little bit more longer because it's like, okay, let me think about this. If I,
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like
Let me sign myself up for some torture.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So did you love it? Did you love the rally? Do you feel like that's something that you've done, and like I know you've said that it's not life changing, but do you feel like it has changed you at all?
I don't feel like it's changed me. I feel like it gave me a venue to be who I am,
Okay.
to take all of my life skills that I've ever had because you need your social skills, you need your fitness, your mental, your emotional. Like it takes everything that you've learned in life and balls it up into one neat little package. Um, and,
Neat.
being a mom and being adult being an adult, I grew up competing and played sports into my early 20s.
Mhm.
So, it brought that back into my life, that ability to
Mhm.
be competitive, but also in a great environment of
Yeah.
supportive women.
Yeah. I would
Mhm.
have to agree with that. I know I've said on here that it's life changing to me, but um I do think that it provides an adult woman like a way to find that joy again, because after, the shoes that we feel as far as being a mom, I know like some people are like work for NASA, and some people are, like vehicle journalists and engineers for companies. Like you have this role as a wife, a mom, a businesswoman, but a lot of times you don't get to go out and like really have fun and find that inner girl that you were
Mhm.
growing up, that you like to compete and you like to go and push yourself and do these hard things. And I think it's so cool that we have that opportunity to do it.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
obviously have fallen in love with off-roading, and I know, you more like the overlanding side, but you still, I mean, that's still a form of off-roading for sure.
Oh, well, don't get me wrong, Sand Hollow is 20 minutes away, and we get over there quite often.
I want to go so bad. I feel like we just barely touched it when we were training with you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we were just doing the sand parts. There's trails and all kinds of stuff that you guys didn't get to experience.
I know. I want to come back. I need to come back whenever we come back to get my Jeep,
Yeah,
and we can go wheel.
for sure. Yeah, for sure. Um, where were we? Oh, right. So, the Rebel and all that it has to offer. So, the other unique thing about the Rebel, not that it's life-changing, but it's unique in the fact that women from all walks of life sit
Mhm,
at the same table and
mhm.
respect each other,
Yeah,
which is something that you don't find often. One, you don't find a group of supportive women.
yeah,
Sadly, that can be hard to find. And then
mhm,
two, regardless of title, you get the
yeah.
same respect, um,
Mhm.
which is
I agree.
amazing.
I think you're gonna find some people that are still like that, because maybe they are just not the nice and the kind people.
Oh,
Um,
sure.
so unfortunately, I know, but that's across the board, right? That's just people in
Yeah.
general. But yeah, I think it's so cool to be able to sit next to who I look like, someone that I admire highly, as Nina Barlow and Tara
Mm,
Lynn. They're top competitors, and even Shelby and Rory, and even to the X Cross Michelle. Like it's crazy that you can see these people who've competed in this, and you're sitting
mhm.
right next to them, and even Emily Miller, who's getting up and talking about the rally and like her accolades and just the people that she's surrounded herself. And I know like we've done a podcast with Nicole from Total Chaos, hearing her background as far as like going and doing the gazelles with like Jesse Combs and even Chrissy, our scorekeeper for the rally. Like these are big women in my eyes. Like it's not like, yeah, they're not like people that you would think famous. It's not like, Julia Roberts or someone, Angelina Jolie. But these are
Yeah.
people that have like impacted like something that I love, and so have created this path. And just to be able to
Yeah.
sit at the next table to them is incredible.
Yeah. And they're not only creating the path, they're fostering the
Oh,
people.
absolutely.
You know, the
Absolutely.
fact that Nicole will sit down and have conversation with you, or
Mhm.
Emily on the Rebel, like, I told her a joke and she thought it was funny and, took that time to sit with me, and I
Yeah.
know that she sat with you, and they
Mhm.
really care about us, not only as competitors, but as women.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and as I
I think
should
that's
say as
incredible.
people, because even though we're all women, like, we're not like, "Rah, rah, I'm a
No.
woman, hear me roar." We're
No.
people and this is what we do.
Yeah, yeah, and I think you've touched on it recently in one of the podcasts where we've done, that it's just we don't feel like it's this empowerment thing. Like we're not in the whole women's rights, anti-men, she-ra clubs. It's just like we
Oh,
just get out there and do what we do, and
yeah.
I mean, we want to be recognized. I mean, I'm not ignorant to that fact of we want to have that space too, but
Mhm.
we're just willing just like they are. We just maybe pee a little different. So
Definitely, definitely feel a little different. I mean, yeah, I've been perfectly open and honest with the fact that I only rebel because Rob supports me.
yeah.
Um, if he weren't backing me, I wouldn't make it to the starting line.
Yeah.
Um, it takes a lot of finances, it takes a lot of time and sacrifice through the year, and if he weren't on board with that, I wouldn't be able to do it.
Mhm.
And the fact is that if he weren't okay with giving me those 10 days really that it takes in October, I wouldn't be able to do it without his support. Like,
Yeah,
mentally even, I couldn't do it.
well, and it's not just like the 10 days in October. It's
Yeah.
throughout the whole year. Like it's like
Yeah.
allowing you to have the time to go train. Like that's a huge time that you're taking. Obviously the finances are always there, but like just having that whole little space outside of being a mom or being a wife, I think that's a
Mhm.
really, really big deal to have a supportive family at home. And if you don't have that, it's hard. It's hard to come back to it. And some husbands, like I talked to some women on the rally whose husbands really don't have a clue,
Yeah.
just because they don't. I mean, they're not interested, and so that's just something that they let their wife go do, and they support that, but they don't. They don't. I wouldn't say care, but they just don't
Yeah.
understand, and so I can't understand that dynamic. Like I could
Yeah.
not do that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Rob has openly said it, it's hard on us throughout the year, but being able to support me in something that I clearly enjoy and clearly am, pretty decent at
Mhm.
is something that he enjoys watching. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
So what
I think it's
future
great.
travel plans do you have? Are you planning to do the rally? Like what does it look like for you?
Well, I mean, you've heard me say I'm not signing up for the rally.
Mhm.
If an opportunity comes and it's a good opportunity, I will compete in 2025, but I'm just letting it happen. I'm not forcing it this year.
Yeah.
Um, and so, taking I will continue to practice and, play reindeer games, I like to say. But, Rob
I look forward to
Rob has
having that.
some yeah, Rob has some goals. We have a little crawler Jeep, and he has the Rubicon and Fordyce on his plans, and he wants to do some of the Colorado trails that we haven't done yet, and,
We need to plan a
so
Rubicon trip because, like, that's what we've discussed for 2025 as well, is doing the
okay.
Rubicon. And Lisa, Lonnie's partner, lives and she's like,
Mhm.
"Just call me." She's like, "'Cause I'm right here at the Rubicon." And she's like, "I can
Yeah.
take you and show you and do all that." So we
Oh,
need to plan that.
I already told her because we were camping with them and I met her husband for the first time,
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
and so, I told them before we left the rally this year that we would be doing the Rubicon together, so, of
Boom.
course, we're all gonna do that.
We have to
Done.
plan that. We gotta
Yeah,
write
and
it in
then
the
Fordyce
calendar.
is right out there, so we can do all of that, yeah. So, we need to get that on
What
the
is
calendar.
Fordyce?
It's just another, like, harder trail out there near the Rubicon,
Okay. I
I
wanna do all
think.
the things.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so does Rob. And yeah, so this year, last year we did a decent amount of travel, but a lot of that travel was surrounding rebel
Training.
training.
Mhm.
So this year our focus is, travel for the purpose of travel.
Enjoyment.
Um, yeah. Not that we don't enjoy traveling for rebel training, but like I've
It's a
said it
different
before,
mindset.
yeah, we went to Montana, but we didn't get to see Montana because we had to do rebel stuff the whole time because turns out Liz and I are very slow mechanics. But, it is what it is,
Yeah.
and we knew what we were getting into, so,
Yeah,
yeah,
and
this year.
that was the goal while you were there, right? It wasn't to
Right,
travel. That was like a
right.
product of being there.
Exactly, but, so this year, a little more, like, travel for recreation versus rebel, and I'll be training for the rebel, but here at home and less impactful on our travel schedule.
So what trips besides the Rubicon do you have? Do you know? Do you have any goals of where you wanna go?
I mean, with Rob and I, you never know. I mean, we might wake up tomorrow and decide we're going to Alaska. We might wake up tomorrow and decide we're going to Baja. Like, you literally never know. One
Have
of
you been
us
to
will come
Baja?
out of a room. No, actually,
Okay,
we couldn't go tomorrow. I need to upgrade my passport,
passport.
but
Danielle's
yeah,
been to Baja. I would love
yeah.
to go.
I'm getting our passports, updated because it is on our list for multiple reasons, but, yeah, so Rob and I, we just have, like, this mental list of things we would like to do, and you never know. You never know.
Mm-mm.
So, I know Alaska's on our list again. We wanna get back up to Alaska, take the ferry this time. Last time we drove all the way through Canada,
Okay.
but,
Oh,
um
I see, we have no idea how to even conquer Alaska. We plan, with YouTube, our kids are graduating. This is the year
yeah.
that they're hitting the road, and therefore we are hitting the road. And so we will have a home base here in Arkansas that I'll have, my daughter will stay there and we'll have a space to come back to visit and stuff, but we're going to be on the road full time. And so it's kind of daunting, because, you've built this up in your head, but then whenever it comes down to it, um, you're gonna have to put things in storage. You're gonna have to get rid of things, and, that's just hard.
Yeah.
It's hard realizing, and for me, like, we celebrate being able to go out for the rally for those days and to experience that stuff, but then in the background, you also have this, I'm supposed to grow up and go to church every Sunday and like have that norm of society that expects you to have, like, be raising your grandkids and like that close family unit here at home
Mm.
where you live
Mhm.
on the same street, your neighbors, you take brownies whenever someone moves into the area, like, there's that whole normal society that I feel like we're going to be breaking the mold from. And so it's like this battle within me of like, if I'm scrolling or if I see something, I'm like, oh, I could have a house that has a room full of books and all of this, like, or if I had a backyard, I could have a pool and like all these things. But it's like, oh, we're good traveling and we'll be able to
Yeah.
swim in mountain waters. And so it's just like, it's this struggle. So it's crazy
Yeah.
what's coming up this year.
I get that. Rob and I have never been full time on the road. I think the longest we've done is like 8 or 10 weeks.
Hmm.
Um, I
That's quite a
enjoy
while.
having. Yeah, I mean, we have done some long trips, but
Hmm.
I enjoy having a place to come home to.
Yeah.
So, I don't know that we would ever go full-time, full-time.
Hmm.
Um, Definitely extended trips is in our wheelhouse, but
Yeah.
I like to have a place to come home to. I like knowing my shower at home exists and my super comfortable bed exists.
Yeah.
Not that our camper is uncomfortable, but it's a different level of luxury, you know?
I love that four-wheel campers. We actually, whenever, we did the rally this past year, Matt was able to chase the rally with Rob. And so Matt got to borrow a truck from Four Wheel Campers and try all of
Mhm.
that out. And I'd love to have the guys on in a future podcast talking about like the four wheel campers and all of that kind of stuff. Um,
Yeah.
because that's a potential for us moving forward. Like we have two gladiators that will be our full-time overlanding. That's what we're going to take. Boo is still with you, obviously, and I don't know what's going to happen. She'll be the rally rig wherever she
Yeah.
ends up, but we're going to sell like this big trailer that we have just because it's a lot to haul across with gas mileage and possibly changing like gear ratio. Like it's just a lot of wear and tear on a vehicle having to haul a vehicle
Yeah,
continuously.
for
And
sure.
so the four-wheel camper was really nice. We got to tour the facility, like I was saying, and just seeing some of the things that they have there in production Has us thinking.
Yeah, and they're super nice people too, which is
Oh,
always a
yeah.
bonus.
Yeah, they really, really are, and they just take the time
Yeah.
to, like, show you their whole facility and how everything is done there in-house, and even
Yeah.
down we were up on, the top, like, overlooking the whole layout of things, and there is some women and a man down there sewing, like, part of the fabric for the inside, and I was just like, "That's"
Yeah.
just seeing that and just, like, that person had been with them for, like, I don't know, lots of years, like 15 years or something, and so it was just
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, it's been a while since we toured, their facility, and we haven't been to the new one. They moved,
Okay,
in the recent past, but yeah, so their old facility, it was amazing like that as well.
yeah. So what other hobbies do you have besides, like, off-roading and traveling? I know you're multifaceted. Besides fitness, what else would you say that you like to do? I
I
know
like
you
to
don't
go
like reading.
shooting. No, I'm not a well, I read to learn. So I'm always reading, like, fitness books or nutrition books, like, not not just pure reading for fun, rarely. But yeah, we go shooting, we like to go hiking, we go mountain biking, I tried dirt biking, Rob's still riding his dirt bike, I am peace out because too much risk, I've never broken a bone, and I would like to never break a bone,
But you feel
and
like it's imminent.
yeah, not riding my dirt bike is, a way to not break a bone. Just like I'm never gonna be eaten by a shark because I don't go in the ocean,
At all?
same. Oh, yeah, I do not enjoy water. I
Not
won't say
even
at all. Like, if Rob goes in with me, I'll go in, like, to my ankles. Like, I would actually go all the way in the water with Rob, but if something touches my foot, I can be standing on his shoulders in half a second. Like,
So
you
did you
don't
have a
wanna be in the
traumatic
water with me.
experience with water? Like, what I wanna know. Did what
No,
hap why?
no.
No?
No, I just don't like it.
Did you
Every
always
year I
like
tell
taking
myself
showers and baths?
no, I don't like that either. Every year I tell myself, "I'm bigger than water. I can be in the water," and then I
Honey,
go
it's
in the
the ocean.
water
You're
and
not
I'm
bigger
like,
than that.
"No, no, I'm not. I'm not bigger than water. I do not enjoy it." No. Not everybody has to like
What about a
everything.
pool? Do you like pools?
I tolerate them, but no. Like, rarely are you ever gonna hear me be like, "Oh, it's a hot day. We should get in the pool." No.
Wow.
Mm.
I
I know.
like laying out by the ocean. I don't like the ocean. I don't wanna ever there's just a lot of unknowns in the ocean that scares me. Like
Yeah,
I have
like
one of those
sharks.
snorkeling masks that like you can it's like snorkeling, but you can see completely. And so
Yeah,
before I didn't have my LASIK done on my eyes, so I had contacts, and so I was still having the salt water get in and bothering that. But
yeah.
now that I've had that done, like you can see completely underneath, and I'm just like, if you see something out of the like peripheral, and it could be a person, it like freaks me out because I'm so scared
Yeah.
it's like a shark coming up really, and so like I don't really like the ocean, and I don't like the salt, I don't like the stickiness and all that. I do love
Mm,
laying out and doing all that, and but I love a pool.
mm.
I love a good pool.
I'll lay out with you, and I'll bring you your towel if you need one from the pool, but that
Deal.
like, don't expect me to get in the water. So, fun
Deal.
fact, when Rob and I were in our Disney days and we would go to Disney, there's, in Disney
Florida or
World, they
California? Okay, Disney World.
Florida,
Okay.
they had I don't know if it still exists, but this large tank that you could basically snorkel across the top of,
Mhm.
and in it, they had a
I've not
variety
seen
of
this recently.
ocean animals, and so there were, like, little sharks and fish and stingrays and
Mhm,
stuff like
mhm.
that in there, and then you're just supposed to float across the top, so I was like, "It's a fish tank, like, I can do this," right? I had one of my, like, "I am bigger than water" moments, like, "I'm gonna do this," right? Rob was really concerned, "Are you sure you can do this?" "I can do this." So,
He's like,
they
"Once we
make
get
you
you in here."
right, they make you wear a life vest, and so you'll float, and you're not supposed to go down deep, you're just supposed to float across the top,
Skim
and
it.
these things just swim underneath of you, they don't come near you, right? And about halfway through, there's this little area where you can kind of, like, stop and take a break. So I get to that, and they have lifeguards in there, and the lifeguard comes over, and she's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, fine, why?" She's like, "Okay, just wondering." Clearly, I did not look fine. And, so she starts to go away again, and I put my face down in the water, and I come flailing up out of the water, dramatically splashing water everywhere, and I was like, "No, no, come back. I can't do it, I can't do it." So, yeah, I was rescued from a fish tank.
So, but, like, what happened? Was there
I
anything where you
just
just, like
Anxiety of what could be and what could happen took
yeah,
over, and that's what happens, like, something touches me and I just lose it. It can be a plant, and
yeah.
it can be a strong wave or a change in the water temperature, and my brain just switches from, "I'm perfectly safe," to, "I'm gonna die any second now,"
Oh my
and I just
gosh.
panic. It's
Yeah. I
crazy.
mean, if something touched me like that, I would definitely be concerned
Yeah.
as well, for sure.
No,
Yeah.
literally, I can go from standing on the ocean floor to like gripping Rob's head with the whole of my body in half a second. The fact that he's never drowned in these situations is amazing. On more than one occasion, he's had to lifeguard save me from like lakes that we've been in, and like the lake weed has
Lakes?
touched me. Yeah. And I just like panic and start sinking. And he like, literally, like, pulls me back into shore and throws me down, and, like, I'm coughing and hacking because 'cause I've inhaled water, and
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
don't ever go in the water with me. If I'm like, "Oh, yeah, we can go in the water, I'm bigger than water," be like, "No, no, you're not."
So this is why whenever I came and I wanted to do the Narrows with you at
Yeah,
Zion, you were like, "No."
no. I was like, "That's waist deep water, no.
And I was
One
like,
of
"It's
us
not
is
that big
gonna
of a deal.
die."
Waist deep is fine." It's
No, I'm like, "One of us is gonna die." Probably me.
or you just saved
Yeah,
my life at that moment and you didn't realize it.
exactly. I did realize it. You didn't
Ooh,
realize it.
you like koalas too?
Yeah.
Here's one of mine. It's got all of the national parks.
Oh, the national parks on it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I love it so much because that's one of my favorite things is I like going to all of the national parks and monuments and collecting the stamps.
Yeah.
I
I've
get
been privy to this.
I
We
get
went to
all of
Zion,
them.
remember?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. And then I went
Yeah.
back to Zion because there was some that we didn't get whenever I was there.
Yeah.
It's
We
kind of
got there, like,
obsessive.
almost closing time.
We did. And so
That
we
was the
only got
first time you
to
came
one.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we didn't get to see all of it, but I got to see most of it this time.
Nice.
It was fun.
Yeah, it's pretty.
We had a blast. But not only do you do like all those things, like you do YouTube too. Y'all have a YouTube
Uh-huh.
channel?
Yeah, it's more Rob's passion than mine.
Okay.
I participate in it and I do enjoy it, but, if it weren't for him, it wouldn't exist. So, it's really his passion. Currently, I'm doing the editing for it. With that kind of switches back and forth depending on who's busier, but,
Really?
yeah.
That's fascinating. So do you
Mhm.
do you use like do you do like the full editing thing? Because I know like you're going to be editing our podcast, and
Yep.
so because I don't do the editing, I would like to learn. I
Mhm.
don't because that's like a whole skill set, right? On top of
Yeah.
being the creator, you then have to put it together, and so it's two different aspects.
Yeah, yeah. So for the podcast, I actually use an AI editor. So
Uh-huh.
it's a little bit different. I run it through an AI and it does a really good job and then I zhuzh it up after that. But for the YouTube channel, I do old school editing in Premiere.
Yeah, I think that's what Matt uses too. But I can't imagine because you want to put the whole it's the music that can make or break a scene for me. I'm very tied to that. Some people they don't want music in their videos at all, and you never can appease
Yeah,
everybody.
right. No, you can't. The music that you pick, somebody's always going to complain about it. But yeah, it
Yeah.
really helps to kind of set the scene.
Hmm.
So sometimes, like, I will peruse music for an hour and not find anything that I'm happy with. And other times I open it up and the first song I pick, I was like, yeah, that's it. Boom, put it on there and we're
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is one of the harder aspects for me.
So how long have y'all been doing the whole YouTube thing?
Oh my gosh. I knew you were gonna ask.
It was coming.
Quite a while. Quite a
Really?
while. Yeah. A number of years, at least 4 years.
Okay.
'Cause I know we did our Alaska trip. That was our first, like, big YouTube. movie, if you will.
Mhm. Is that
Was
something you
that
just do, like, as a
2016 or
hobby?
2017 or 2019? Something like that? Yeah. It's just a hobby. It started, Rob was like, "We're doing these trips and we're filming stuff. We might as well put it on YouTube, and then if the kids ever wanna look back, it's kind of like having home movies."
Yep.
But we're also sharing it because we have extended family that likes to see what
Yeah.
we're doing or follow
That's how it
along,
started for us.
and
Yeah.
yeah. And so it's still very much that for us, like, it's not we're not full-time YouTubers, we're not
Right.
making a ton of money or anything like that, it's just fun, but it is a nice creative outlet.
Yeah, I think if you don't start it with that intention, if you start it with wanting to make money, it's gonna be hard because you're gonna be grinding and it's gonna come down to you'll put your hours and hours and hours into like a full video, and you'll get
Yeah.
the smallest amount of views, and it just can be defeating.
Yeah. Plus it's a demanding grind because in order to get content, you must be doing something that's filmable.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
it's like, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, it's
it's
really
it's a
hard
hard
too.
balance.
Yeah, if you have that job and it's like when do you go? Like how
Yeah.
often and how much content do you get? And for us, it is a little bit difficult for us because like there's everything that we do basically is a video. And so it's like we were talking earlier, and you and I had talked earlier too about traveling. And I had this conversation with Matt. I was like, I just want to have a trip that we come up with and just travel. Like I don't want to have to
Yeah.
film it. I don't want to have to do. And we've only done that probably once since we've been doing YouTube,
Mhm.
and that's crazy if you really think about it. That every trip that we've went on has been
Yeah.
kind of a work trip. I mean,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, we're loving it and we're seeing places, but it's still part like we're still getting up and editing and making all of this content and clearing off flash drives and making sure things are charged. So it's like a different thing. But
Yeah. It adds an element of work to travel for sure.
mhm, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a cool job. It's a cool gig.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't complain if Rob went to it full time, but it definitely is not what we set out to do.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, and so, like, the boys' trip that they took, Matt has divided that up in like, I like watching Matt's videos. He edits, very similarly to how I edit,
Mhm.
and I've enjoyed watching his spin on the boys' trip, but now I'm editing the
I haven't
boys'
even
trip
watched them.
from Rob's footage, and, Rob just wants one long video where Matt has chopped it
Yeah.
up, so it'll be like, everybody is different, and
Well,
that's
so
pretty
what
cool.
Matt usually does is like throughout some like a little background for people that are watching the YouTube side of things for us. Like he'll go throughout the year and he'll chop it up like that. And then like in Christmas time or around holidays or whenever we can't travel, he'll like put them all together and he'll make these
Yeah.
long movies. So that way you can kind of use it twice. But I mean, you don't,
Mhm.
he'll throw in some extra footage that he may have not included it in the first edit. But for the
Yeah.
most part, he adds that to just like for people that do want to sit there and watch like this whole long experience. So you get a little
Yeah.
bit of both. But
It's fun.
yeah, we love it. It's really cool. I need to go back and watch these. I haven't watched, and I don't know if you have. Do you watch the lives and all of the post rebel things after?
I haven't yet. I normally do. I don't jump right back into it, though,
Mhm,
so but, yeah, I probably will. Like, I've looked at the score flow, I've looked at, like, the daily scores
mhm.
and tried to analyze that a little bit, but no, I haven't watched them all yet.
I haven't either. I haven't either. Some there's definitely like there's a I don't know. I don't know that it's grief but there's like this for a minute you just kind of feel like you're lost. Like, and
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense to you. I'm glad that you're saying yes because like you've trained and trained and trained, especially our first year, we trained so hard that, whenever it's done, you're like, and I know Nina and them, they get back into it like immediately the week after. And we have events coming up too where I will be off roading, but it's
Mhm.
still different because you don't have that. encroaching time. And I know Danielle's like she trained for the rally. She got into the match really quick before we like she just had access to the videos, you know. And
Yeah.
so but I haven't jumped back into that yet. I have looked up ordering the maps and I'm gonna scan some copies and make copies of the maps from this past year so I can practice my plotting. But yeah, I don't know. I want to watch the lives, but at this and I want to watch it just to see it from that perspective. But at the
Yeah.
same time, I'm kind of sad because I know we had really killed it in that last day. It just kind of hurt a little bit, and so I don't want to. I don't. I don't know. I don't want to watch
You
that
don't wanna
play out.
relive it? You're not ready
Well,
yet.
I'm not ready yet, and I
Yeah.
want to be ready, but at the same time, I'm not. And so I
Yeah.
think that's normal.
Yeah. Oh, that's completely normal. I'm a very fast processor. So,
Mhm.
like, I come off the rally, I think about it, I look at the scores, I write down my lists of what I think I could have done better this year or what I will focus on in the
Mhm.
future. And like on my list is like this year we took a fridge and I've always taken a fridge. But this year I realized the fridge didn't add that much to my life. And
Mhm.
we were unplugging it every night because there was some odd power drain that the Tacoma has.
Okay.
Which is not surprising because the last 3 weeks after I nearly totaled it, there were so many people touching and all the wiring basically
Yeah.
was redone, and so
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
just didn't go back together quite the same,
You didn't have the
so
time to sit there and analyze it either.
no, because we got it back Friday and then we left Tuesday morning.
Right.
We got it back Friday night, late Friday night, and left Tuesday morning for the rally, and Monday, it was at Dixie all day long getting
Mhm.
some items that were supposed to be done the previous so I really only had it for 2 days before we
Yeah.
left for the rally, and, so many different mechanics touched it, and but there's so many aftermarket wiring situations that something just got back a little bit funky.
Right.
So we were unplugging the fridge every night, and so we really weren't getting the benefit of it.
Mhm.
Sure, if we wanted a cold drink, like, it was cooling down during the day, but we weren't keeping anything perishable in it, and so for me,
Yeah.
I was just like, "Never ever will I take a fridge again," 'cause it's weight.
Yeah.
Um,
It's space
so
too.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So for me, like, I relive it. I think about what did I like, what didn't I like. I write down my list, I write down my goals, and
Mhm.
then I kind of move on. I mean, I do look at the scores and how like we all shook out through the days and but yeah. So watching the
Do you
lives and stuff like that, like I will do it, but it's not top of my list. Like I've
I
processed
feel
it,
like
I've moved on.
you and Danielle are like that as far as being that quick like that. I think you'll have a lot of similarities in that, black, white, you know,
Yeah. You've said that
mentality.
before. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm very much the emotional person of everybody.
Yeah.
So do you do that? Do you watch these lives? Like, I know you say you process that, but do you also process the emotions and the interactions and the conversations like that, or does that take you a little while?
No, I'm pretty sure I'm pretty much the same. Like, if you and
Mhm,
I are teammates and we get into a tense situation and I get a little snippy or bitchy, I'm
mhm,
very quick to come back to you as soon as like my levels come down and I'm calm again and be like, "Hey, gosh, I realized I was a little intense there, maybe a little out of line, and I'm sorry about
mhm.
that." Like,
Gotcha.
probably before we get home at the end of the day.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
probably 10 minutes after, like, I've calmed down and I have processed, like, "Oh, yeah, I let my emotions really get away from me, and
Mhm.
I probably could have been nicer to you."
What about the
Um,
whole rally and that how that, like, pans out through the course of your rally? Like, does like, you know, I know you're very competitive, so, like, if you
mhm.
start seeing like, do you process that loss, like, that quickly, or does it take you a little bit?
No, pretty much day by day, I'm evaluating, like, how we're doing, what we're doing, and I'm readjusting my
Mhm.
goals and, you know,
I need
because
you to
I
feed me
mean
this because I think that's one of the reasons why I'm, like, struggling to watch it just because of the emotion.
yeah, what did the sticker said, get points, not
Yeah,
feelings.
like yeah. I know.
Yeah,
Carolyn gave me that.
yeah,
Cha
yeah,
chase points, not feelings.
chase points, yeah. So it's something like that. I mean, I am quick to realize that the rally is a very emotional thing, and we are it's competitive. I'm very competitive. When stress gets high, everybody is reactive.
Mhm.
And so I'm quick to be like, okay, that was a reactive situation. I could have handled it better and I'm really sorry. Um, you know,
Yeah,
I still love you. I was just stressed out.
yeah.
Um, I'm coming back to you very quickly with
Mhm.
that. And then as the days go on and I'm realizing how are we performing? What is our skill set? Okay, this is what I came in with. Now I'm readjusting that based on the reality of what's happening. Um,
Gotcha.
you know, and like I'm very easy going with my drivers in the sense that if I say to you, "Hey, the flag is up there, let's go up there," and you say to me, "I can't drive that." Okay, great. Plan
Mhm,
B. Like I'm not going to waste time arguing with you because
mhm,
if you don't think you can do it, you can't do it. If you think
mhm.
you can. And so there's no point in me trying to impress upon you my feelings of whether we can or we
Yeah,
can't.
yeah.
Right? And so, like, I try to keep that in my forefront as well in that, like, because the whole thing is efficiency and pace.
Mhm.
So, like, trying to limit that and then just like I said, just being realistic about what skills did we bring this year and what's in our reach and what's not.
Yeah. I'm gonna watch
Yeah.
them. I really like how Nina's been doing her whole daily outline, so I need to go back. I wanna look at that and just kinda analyze those kinda things. I wanna make our whole routes. I have Danielle's gonna give me, like, our checkpoints and stuff, and so I'm gonna put those into Gaia and just plot them and just kinda see,
Yeah.
and like I said, I'm gonna get the maps, and so I wanna do that too, but anywho, I've enjoyed our
No,
conversation.
same, same. Well, I'm looking forward to what I'm calling season 2 with you here on Stories from the Dirt. I think,
Yeah,
we're a
me
great
too.
team. Sure.
Okay, so I have questions for you though, real quick. You
Oh,
didn't know I was
okay.
gonna do this, so
No,
I
I
have
didn't know.
questions. So what was the first car that was ever really yours?
So, I had a Chevy Citation that was older than me.
What is a citation? That sounds like you just got a punishment.
It's a little, boxy hatchback.
I'm gonna look this
Yeah,
up.
and it
Okay,
was a stick shift with a bench seat in the front.
lakes or mountains?
Mountains.
Favorite state?
Alaska.
Dogs or cats?
Other people's dogs.
My dogs.
Sure, your dogs. Dogs I don't own.
Favorite board game?
Um, board game,
Or it didn't have
King
to be
of
a
Tokyo.
board.
King of Tokyo. We play that a lot as a family.
Never
Yeah,
heard of that either. Okay, that's all I have.
that's all you have.
That's
Okay,
all I have
that's
for today.
what was your first car that was ever really yours?
And a Suzu Ombre.
Okay, I'll have to look that one up.
It's like a it's kinda like a Ford Ranger, like a short little old
Oh,
school.
okay.
It was fun.
Nice, nice. I think we've done Fast Money with you before, so I'm not gonna
Yeah,
go through the whole thing, but,
no.
that was
I
fun.
like I like lakes and mountains, and I love dogs, not cats.
Okay.
I would like to have a Sphinx probably,
Mm.
just because 'cause they're quirky, but
Carolyn
then they're
has a
also
Sphinx.
I also need to know, like, do they have skin problems? Like, is it high maintenance?
So, we have, an American Hairless Terrier, which is basically a naked dog.
We had naked
My
dogs. We had
oldest
Chinese
my
crusteds.
Yeah, so it's about the same, the Sphinx and
Okay.
the naked dogs.
Yeah,
It just
they had a
depends on
lot of
which
skin
one you
issues.
get. Some are fine and some are not.
Yeah,
Like, our naked dog is fine. She's pretty hardy.
that's funny.
Yeah, she
Oh.
lives with my oldest daughter, so we do not technically have her, but we still pay her vet bills.
So, she still has issues.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Anyways.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much
Alright.
for having me on as your co-host this season.
Yeah, it's super fun. We'll see if you make it till next season. No, I'm just
I know.
kidding. Just kidding.
Same. Give me your login.
Alright, until next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.